Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Do not forget to call your mother. Don't forget to hug your mother. Do everything you can for your mother. Let me tell you something. Your dad might take you out and teach you to go fishing. Might teach you how to fish. Your dad might teach you how to crawl up underneath your car and change your oil. Your dad will teach you that unspoken language that we men have, that women are shocked to find out how extensive it actually is, on how to carry yourself. That's your dad. But your mom makes you a human being. When you do everything absolutely wrong in your life, it'll be your mom sitting behind you in front of that judge. So yeah, go love on your mom today. It's Mother's Day. Let's do this. Good morning, everybody. Well, it looks like we're back to this nonsense again. All over social media, all over, and the corporate media is falling for it. You remember this? Remember this? Trump's inauguration and oh man, 1 million people, 2 million people showed up, the biggest inauguration in history. And then he jumped all over the Park Service for actually showing the camera video that actually showed how many people showed up, and it was all made up. Everything Republicans do is made up. Hello, Marcia. Good to see you. Good to see you. Everything Republicans do is always made up. It's fiction. And today's fiction is Trump claimed 80 to 100,000 people showed up to his rally in New Jersey. And man, it just shows the end of the Democratic Party. He's going to take them blue states. He is. 100,000 people showed up in New Jersey. Can you believe that? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It's more of that crap. First of all, the venue, it was in Wildwood, New Jersey. And the venue was Maury's Water Park and Pier. I'm not even kidding, folks. Maury's Water Park and Pier was the venue. So let's think about that for a second when we start talking about 100,000 people. This is Maury's Water Park and Pier. And you see this little wet area in the front there? It's going to be important later. Just put a pin in that and pay attention. Just to give you some sort of reference, people are already just dragging them for saying this nonsense. But just to give you some sort of reference, I go to, my frame of reference is AT&T Stadium in Dallas, but you've got your own football stadium. They're pretty close to the same size. Here's one of the, they're just dragging these people because the right wingers, the Trumpers are all like, oh, that's it. We're going to win. 100,000 people showed up. They're just being completely drugged with posts like this, responses to, I'm going to show you a video here in a minute. This is one of the responses to the video where they actually show 100,000 people at a Taylor Swift concert in a stadium and what it looks like in reference to the size area, that little patch of beach that Trump held his rally in. But yeah, I mean, again, it's always the same crap. It's always just made up fiction with these Republicans. So let's take a look at it with our own eyes. Let's not let anybody else tell us. Let's look at it with our own eyes. See, their supporters are showing this video that apparently shows 100,000 people at this rally. They're very proud of this. This Gary Alcock guy is just one of hundreds of Trumpers out there that are spreading this video. And I want you to see it for yourself with your own eyes. Okay, here we go. I'll watch it, play it through, then I'm going to call your attention to a few things. Just wind noise. I'll turn the volume down. Oh man, looks like there's some people there, huh? Yeah, let's take a look at this, folks. I want you to see this with your eyes. First of all, you see a huge section of it. That patch of beach is all cordoned off. They got them in as tight a little spot as possible. And you notice the section here in the middle, there's a big section there where nobody's at. I mean, look at this gated off area. So yeah, not even all of Maury's water park. That's the Great White, by the way, in the back there. That's Maury's water park and pier. But let's look at it, okay? Let's say, okay, we'll take 5 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a guy here, white hair in the back. This section right here, that's 5 people. All right. Well, let's take and multiply that times 20 and see what 100 people looks like. When you do that, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You can pretty much measure it out. So take just to the right of this pylon thing right here to here, about yay deep, is about 100 people. That's what 100 people looks like. This swath right here. Then you multiply that by 10. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, of course, the way photo optics work, there's going to be more people the farther out you get. It just kind of shrinks up on you. So let's say 8, 9, 10 to the back. So from this section to the right of this column, all the way back in this picture, that's 1,000 people. Hey, that's a pretty good turnout, man. That's a pretty good turnout. 1,000 people in that section right there. And then let's be generous. Let's say there's another 1,000 in the section over here. Well, when we look around, okay, not quite as many. There's a tighter area there. So let's say this whole section right here, that's another 1,000 people. That's a pretty good estimate, another 1,000. So we're up to 3,000 people. And then we get to the front area. And we got chairs. See how it's gated off? They got the cattle in the back. You're not going to let the normal people up there by the stage. No, we got to have, we got chairs and there's spacing. All of a sudden, that size reference doesn't really fit anymore. And then we got grandstands. And I took the trouble to count. I took a section of the grandstands, counted the number of people across by the number of seats high. It turns out each of these sections holds about 80 people. So each one of these grandstands holds about 240 people if they're jam-packed. And they're not. And there's 3 grandstands. So there's a little over 700 people on the grandstands. And then I did a count. I've got a still picture of this. Where I actually did a head count. I mean, they're really proud of this. They're pumping these out, claiming 80 to 100,000 people, man. So I did a head count of this section. See this lady right here? See this lady right here? I use her as a point of reference. Went out and counted the number of people in this section and multiplied it out. And I figured if you take all the grandstands and all the people here, you might have somewhere between, being generous, there's gaps in there and stuff like that. I didn't allot for the gaps. I didn't take out for that. Being generous, there's about 1,500 people in the whole front half. So we're talking like 5,000 people maximum, being generous, counting the empty spots as people. And you know, I love you folks. You're so damn well informed. You got Ichabod Deer here saying with 50 miles of Wildwood, New Jersey. New Jersey live well over 10 million people. And he got, you could see it with your own eyes. You could do the math with your own eye. About 5,000 people showed up. But, you know, Trump's out there claiming, and I've got another shot for you so you can see it from the other direction. You know, you see the Ferris wheel in the background on that picture. Here's what it looks like from Maury's. No kidding. Maury's Pier Ferris wheel. Maury's Water Park and Pier. This is a shot from the other direction looking out where Trump's back is. You know, they had the pods taken off because they're renovating the Ferris wheel. But that's the area. You see this whole wet area here and wet area here? That's why they were all squeezed into that one little thin section to make it look tight, make it look like there's a lot of people there. But again, it's crap. It's made up crap all the time. So I'm telling you, folks, yeah, 500, 100,000. What's it? Let me tell you something. If you could draw 100,000 people to Maury's Water Park, yeah, I might actually be worried about that next election. But you can't. You can't. And to give you a reference, folks, there's almost 2,000 people in this live right now. And I'm just old country boy talking about the news. Not the former president. This is not killing it, folks. This is not, this is not cult of personality, because think about it. He's got nothing to run on. He's got no policies to run on. In fact, the policies that he is running on are actually turning out us. All he has is cult of personality, and his cult is dying. It is dying, and they're showing you the videos themselves, and it's dying because of him. I got a video here. Part of Acine did a great job. He's, them boys over at Midas are just fantastic. Acine's the editor over there. He just fantastic. Let me share this with you. Let me share this with you. I know you'd love to hear Trump talk, right? I mean, but it's actually worth it. It's really worth hearing. And damn it, I deleted it. Hold on. Let me get it for you. You want to hear this. This is what these people had to put up with. Hang in there. It'll take just a second. I apologize. While I'm looking this up, I want you to go and hit that thumbs up button. There we go. Got a super sensitive mouse, and I gotta learn to be better with it. Bam, there it is. Got it. All right. Let's listen to what old Trump had to say for the 4,000 or 5,000 people that showed up.
Anyone ever say The Silence of the Lambs? The late great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. As this poor doctor walked by. I'm about to have a friend for dinner, but Hannibal Lecter, congratulations, the late great Hannibal Lecter. We have people that are being released into our country that we don't want in our country.
Okay, this is not dubbed. This is not made up. This is Trump. And for reference, he had, 4,000 to 5,000 people there. We've got over 2,000 people in the live broadcast right now. I'm glad you're all here, folks. Hit that thumbs up button. Let's get as many people in here. Let's play that one more time. This is not dubbed. This is what he's talking to these people about at this rally. Hold on.
Silence of the Lambs. Has anyone ever seen a Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. Is this poor doctor walked by? I'm about to have a friend for dinner, but Hannibal Lecter, congratulations, the late, great Hannibal Lecter. We have people that are being released into our country that we don't want in our country.
Okay. Sociopaths can't do comedy. To do comedy, and by the way, along the lines, I got a great announcement for you. The absolutely amazing Christopher Titus is going to be here Wednesday live to do the show with me. So yeah, he's going to be our guest. Be here Wednesday. You don't want to miss that. Titus is going to be here Wednesday. And we're going to talk about this. But to do comedy, you have to understand people's emotions and feelings. You have to understand what's funny to them, what triggers humor in them. And sociopaths can't. They don't understand those relationships. And he really thinks that's a joke. That scene from Hannibal, from Silence of the Lambs, where he's talking about, I have to go, Clarice. I'm having a friend for dinner. That's not comedy. And he can't understand that because, yeah, Mary P., he has no empathy. He can't get it. And this is the kind of things that he's talking about at his rallies. He's talking about windmills are killing whales. You have to forgive me, I can't do a Queen accent. Windmills are killing whales. The windmills are killing all the birds. No kidding. That's what his rally was about. And this was the result, folks. This you got to love the Philadelphia Inquirer. They saw all these videos being put out and all these claims. So they actually got somebody to send them video from the actual rally while it was going on, not just the opening, but this is after Trump starts talking.
A tender-hearted woman's poor half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she sighed.
That is not dubbed or anything. That is really Trump talking at his. Listen to that again. And people are just pouring out. You can see in the back, there's just lines of people streaming out of Maury's. But watch and listen to what he's talking about. This man is freaking gone.
A tender-hearted woman's poor half.
Think about the other video. This same shot, when it first started, all of those people, they were jam-packed in there. I mean, remember the picture? It was just jam-packed. And that's where we did a count of 1,000 people in this section right here. Look at it now when he's talking. And it's because he's talking like this.
A tender-hearted woman's poor half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she sighed.
Yeah, and God, I love you people for knowing. I know it. It's the old parable, snake parable, the snake poem. I love you folks that are already know what's going on and what he's talking about. But could you imagine just enduring that, listening to that nutball talk about this stuff like that? I mean, and people are just flooding out of this rally. But what are they saying? What are they saying? Oh, 80, 100,000 people. It's all made up. And folks, I rail about the corporate media. I do. I rail about the corporate media. They are the worst. So many of them are going with this. So many of them are going with this. Trump has huge rally in Wildwood, New Jersey. You can see with your own eyes. And just imagine for 1 second if this had been Joe Biden up there giving a stump speech talking about windmills are killing the whales. You know, like Hannibal Lecter said, I'm having a friend for dinner. Oh, that's the illegals. That's the illegals. Could you imagine the reaction of the press to that if it was Joe Biden? I mean, Joe Biden, for God's sake, tripped on a sandbag, stumbled on a sandbag. It was front page news for days. Joe Biden has a stutter. If he pauses to realign his cadence, which is what people that learn to overcome their stutter do, is that when they feel it coming on, they will stop, they will pause, and they will run through a rhythm in their head and realign their cadence. Joe Biden stops in his speech and sorry, I had to take somebody out of chat. The corporate media will run clip after clip after clip of it. But here you got Donald Trump claiming, oh man, I had 80 to 100,000 people giving a demented stump speech. Not talking about anything that is relevant to the people of the United States of America. Just a demented stump speech. Press, nope. Corporate media, nope. 80 to 100,000 people showed up. No, they didn't. You can see it with your own eyes. Maybe 5,000 people at peak. And they left. They freaking left. Oh, add a coffee. Man, I hope your coffee is good today, ladies. It is Mother's Day. Do nice things for your mother. But that's not the only thing that we've got to talk about today. I mean, that was a disaster. But not anywhere near the disaster Trump is facing. We're going to get Trump out of the way. We're going to get all the Trump stuff out of the way. Yeah. You remember when Trump kept telling us he can't show us his taxes because he's under audit? Turns out he didn't lie. We all accused him, oh, that's a lie. He just doesn't want to show us his taxes. That's a lie. Turns out it wasn't a lie. I mean, he made a lot of crap up. You remember this image where he had a bunch of empty folders or folders that, you had a couple honest reporters that said, look, we looked at this after the speech and it was just blank paper stuffed in folders. You remember this image where he was talking about his taxes and how complex his taxes are. These are my tax documents. And no, it's just printer paper and blank manila folders with no labels on them. Again, everything Republicans do is made up. But it turns out he was initially audited, even though we know for a fact that he later on actually pushed back against the mandatory audits that he was supposed to have. The Senate Ways and Means Committee did an investigation on it, and Trump actually fought having all of the audits that he was supposed to have done as president done. He actually did have an audit done. He actually did. And it's not good, folks. It's really not looking good. We're getting the results of all this. This is the Trump Tower, Chicago. That's a nice looking building. I call it like it is. That is a nice looking building. Trump's deal on this was so bad that in 2008, there's actually a legal term, a legal definition for the term worthless in the IRS. There is. There's actually a legal definition for the term worthless. Donald Trump declared his own tower worthless back in 2008. No kidding, really. They did a deal so bad that he cannot make money on that tower. And he wrote off the losses. But what's being reported is that's not all he did. That's not all he did. Let me break this down into layman's terms for you. It was actually Mrs. Texas Paul that in our discussion about this, when I was telling her I couldn't believe that he pulled this crap. But she gave a great example of it. It's like if you and your wife both have businesses, and you share, we have over 3,000 people, by the way, in the live audience. Compare that to Trump's fake ass 5,000 people at Wildwood. And I'm not the former president. But yeah, here's the best example I can give you of the double dipping that's being reported regarding the Chicago Tower. Okay. So you and your wife own a business and you buy a printer and you share a printer between your desks. One of you gets to declare that expense. Not both of you. You don't both get to write off the full cost of that printer. Colonel Klink, I love that name. I love that name. Trump had his rally in Jersey because he is tired, lazy, and it was close to his Bedminster bed. Amen, brother. Amen. But yeah, I mean, you get that. I mean, it's a pretty simple concept to understand. You own a business, your wife owns a business. Say you're both real estate agents. You've got different companies, you're commercial, she's residential. Y'all share a printer. Only one of you gets to write it off. Pretty simple concept, right? Well, not for Trump, because what Trump did was he had a legal partnership back in 2008 in which he declared Trump Tower to be worthless. Then he makes money on The Apprentice, pays taxes on that money. To his credit, he paid taxes. But then a few years later, he files under a new partnership and gets a return. Almost $80 million. We gave him. And the reason we gave him almost $80 million is Trump Tower, Chicago. He took that asset out of this partnership, moved it to another partnership that he also owned, and took the loss again to negate his earned income from The Apprentice. So now, as you can imagine, that's not kosher. As it's being reported, you're talking about 70 plus almost $80 million in returns, plus penalties and interest he now owes. And I am here for it. I am here for it. Gotta love it. There are people in this country that believe that a guy that does things like this should be our leader, should be the leader of the most powerful nation on the face of the planet. Venture Fanatic says, make his worthless Tower of Greed into a homeless shelter. Yeah, no kidding, right? Actually, it's pretty nice. Pretty nice. And as somebody that actually had some business sense, you why not, right? Somebody that would actually do the maintenance on the building. Newest Bill says, I am certain your current attendance is pummeling the orange slide. We're doing good. I'm glad to see you here, folks. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It'll keep more people coming in. It'll get more people to see it afterwards. But yeah, there's a reason they have these laws in place. There is, and it goes back to, Tricky Dick. It goes back to Sweaty Nixon. Nixon abused the IRS. He did. He really did. He used it as a weapon. He had shady taxes himself. So they came up with that law, mandatory audits for presidents and senior executive in the government. There are mandatory audits. Trump, I'm not going to do that. The law don't apply to me like every Republican thinks. But there's also another law in place, and this is where I'm going with this, folks. This is real. The IRS is independent of the executive branch. There's no one that can stop this train for Trump. This is going to be $100 million. He's going to fight this like everything else, and it doesn't matter. The government doesn't care. You owe us $100 million. Pay me. That's the way the government works. What you're going to see, and I want you to be ahead of this, because next week, mark my words, what you're going to be seeing, is Biden's attacking Trump with the IRS. That's what you're going to be seeing next week. When they get confirmation 100%, and it's no longer being reported as it looks like, or they've got 100% confirmed. Yeah, this is it. He's going to owe $100 million because he scammed the IRS. It's going to be portrayed as Biden is abusing the IRS to attack Trump. That is not happening. That is a big deal. That is a big deal. That is a really, really big deal. There's a bright line in the IRS, folks. I have connections. I do. I know people that are Treasury agents. I know people that are part of the agency that investigates and oversees the IRS. I know people that work in the IRS. I am telling you, this is a bright neon line that no one crosses, and it is a felony for anyone in the executive branch to try to trigger an audit, interfere with an audit, anything like that. It is 100% a straight up, easy to discern, with teeth and jail time felony. But I promise you, James Comer and the rest of the stooges will be in front of cameras next week talking about Biden's using the IRS to attack Trump. And I just want you to be ahead of it. Like so many times, we've got stories that are coming, that are breaking, that are out there. We talk about them, and then next week, here we are. I promise you that's what's going to happen. I promise you that's what's going to happen. Well, away from Trump, thank God. God, I get tired of talking to him. Y'all got to get tired of hearing about Trump. I get tired of talking about Trump. He is just horrible. Horrible. I want to talk about what happened last Wednesday, because it really didn't get much coverage. Hakeem Jeffries rode in and saved Mike Johnson's job. He did. There's no other way to sum it up. Mike Johnson is Speaker of the House today because of Hakeem Jeffries. Marjorie Trader Green, old Farty Marj, the elevator flatulator, actually pulled the trigger on the vote of no confidence to vacate the chair to remove Mike Johnson from his job. Same thing they did to Kevin McCarthy. And by the numbers, they actually had more people, more Republicans willing to vote to kick Mike Johnson out than they had to kick Kevin McCarthy out. The difference is Hakeem Jeffries didn't do what Democrats are supposed to do. Democrats are supposed to vote to make Hakeem Jeffries speaker in every situation. After triggering this vote, Steve Scalise ran to the floor and immediately triggered a vote to table the vote of no confidence, the vote to vacate the chair. And what that means is, in lay terms, is they're deciding they're going to have that vote later. And that itinerary is controlled by the speaker. So Mike Johnson gets to decide when and if they ever hold that vote that Marjorie Taylor Greene triggered. The reason that passed is Democrats. Here's the number. This is what it looked like. Democrats voting to table it. This is the figure right here that saved Mike Johnson. These are the votes to oppose it, folks that didn't vote, folks that voted present. Now, look, I get it. I get it. We're going to come back to this in just a second. I get it. I understand what Hakeem Jeffries is saying. Hakeem Jeffries has come out and said, look, the reason we did this is, A, we made a deal, and I gave my word. If you pass Ukraine funding, if you put it out there and let us vote on it, I will make sure that they don't kick you out of it for that. And Marjorie Taylor Greene went down to the floor and she railed and, 100% Putin's agenda, said Speaker House has to go. They passed KP to vote present means that you are there for the vote, but you are not going to log a yay or a nay vote on this subject. You're simply voting to say, I was here and did not vote. I'm going to get into those votes here in a minute. Thanks for bringing that up. So Hakeem Jeffries is saying, look, I gave my word. I promised I wouldn't let you get kicked out over the Ukraine funding. There it is. The second thing that argument that Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats are making that follow Hakeem Jeffries is the devil you know. So far, Mike Johnson hasn't broken his word to Democrats. He came close, but he held the votes that he promised Hakeem Jeffries he would hold. They diametrically oppose his policies, but at least he kept his word. So they're saying, okay, the guy that replaces him would be worse. It would be worse. Not only would we hate his policies, but it's likely going to be somebody who is not going to be someone on the other side of the table whose word has meaning at all. So let's just keep this guy around until the election. Is the second reason they gave for it. And I have to tell you, this actually leaves me a little worried. It does. It leaves me a little worried. Let's take a look at those numbers again. And Washington Post did an amazing job here breaking it down. They didn't just break it down. They give you the vote totals for the supporters. 359 folks voted to support to table the resolution. 163 of them were Democrats. Opposes, it was 32 Democrats opposed tabling it. They wanted it to go to a vote to have him removed. 32 Democrats. 11 Republicans voted, and they were the nutballs. I'll read their names here in a minute so you can just imagine who these folks were. 11 Democrats and 10 Republicans did not vote at all. They did not bother to show up for the vote. 21 people. And 7 Democrats voted present. what that looks like is, of those that voted present, this is actually pretty significant. That is, I am here and I am not going to follow I'm not going to follow Hakeem Jeffries' lead on this. That's a pretty significant step. That is a declaration in and of itself. We shouldn't be doing this, and I'm not going to do it because Hakeem Jeffries tells me to. You had Judy Chu out in California, Jesus Garcia from Illinois, Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, Mark Pokin from Wisconsin, Jan Schakowsky from Illinois. That's a big one, actually. That one hurt. Jan Schakowsky. Mark Takano from California and Norma Torres from California all said, look, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Beyond that, the Democrats that just said, hell no, we're not going to save him. You had Nanette Berrigan from California, Jamal Bowman, Corey Bush, Greg Kazar, Joaquin Castro from down here in Texas, Yvette Clark, Gerald Conley, Diana DeGette, Lloyd Doggett, AOC. You're kind of getting Ayanna Pressley. You're kind of getting a feel for who these folks were. Maxine Waters. They're all like, no, we're not going to save this guy. That's not our job. It's not what we do. And on the Republican side, you had Andy Biggs, Eric Burleson, Eli Crane, Warren Davidson, Paul Gosar, the nutballs in the Republican Party. Chip Roy, Barry Moore, Alex Mooney, Victoria Sparks, all voting saying, look, we're going to vote to take this guy out of office. And I want to ask you folks, how do you feel about this? Before I tell you how I feel about it, I want to ask you in the comments to tell me, how do you feel about it? Us Democrats keeping Mike Johnson in his job. Because I'll be honest with you, I've got a pretty strong feeling on this. And I just, I want to know, where do you stand? It's not going to affect how I feel in any way. Peter Campbell says, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Texas Fall, for keeping us, all of us nourished with facts and information. Happy Mother's Day to my lovely bride. Happy Mother's Day. And to all the mothers out there, thank you, Peter Campbell. I appreciate it. Alan Davis says 60-40. He's okay with it. I get it. I get it. It was an optics trap. Yeah, I get it. I do. I get that. I understand the arguments they're making. I do. And I understand, hey, we got to keep our word. We're not them. I understand that argument. Here's my fear. I'm afraid that Hakeem Jeffries and the rest of the Democrats don't really get the existential crisis that we're in. Katie Carroll, I appreciate that. That is a huge, you're a wonderful patron. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for all your support. If he goes, someone worse might get in. I get that argument. I do. I understand it. I do. Here's where I am. We're in a fight for the country. This isn't about policies anymore. This isn't, hey, your tax policies versus my tax policies versus, hey, I think we should fund schools and you think that we shouldn't. You think that we should have small government and rich people should be okay and yada, yada, and all that. That's not what this is anymore. That's not this election. And I'm really afraid that maybe Hakeem Jeffries just doesn't get that. Yeah, he's still very old school. Great way to put it, Rich. He's old school. He is, my word, my handshake matters. And I get that. I really do. I'm not. I am This is a knife fight. And Republicans don't have morals or values. And if they had done what they were supposed to do, which is to vote for a speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, which means they should have voted not to table this. They should have brought it to a vote and had Mike Johnson removed based on Republican votes only, because every vote a Democrat puts forward should have been for a speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, which means there would have been enough votes to remove Mike Johnson, and sent the House back into the chaos and have the Republican Party show us exactly what they are again. This is May. The elections are in November. We're 5 months away. It is time to start setting those bombs off. And that disarray that is actually the Republican Party, because it was the Democratic Party that stood up and literally that made the statement that this politics of personality is over. That is in the past. That is one of the statements that Hakeem Jeffries just made. You know, why? Why did we throw them that lifeline? We should have made them blow themselves up. We should have made them humiliate themselves, because it's what they are. What happened on Wednesday was not the Republican Party. It was the Democratic Party standing up and saying, no, we're not going to have craziness in our government. We're not going to get credit for that. Nobody's going to say, you know, I think I'm going to vote this November because, you know, that Hakeem Jeffries, he keeps his word. No, you're going to vote for your survival, because that's what's really on the line. And that's what scares me. That's what scares me, is they seem to be thinking that for some reason that this is going to be a normal presidency, that somehow Congress is still going to, okay, so Trump, God forbid, gets elected. There's not going to be a Hakeem Jeffries to protect us. This administration with the 2025 project has told us in advance they will no longer follow any established norm. Katie Carroll, this is about Republicans doing anything to keep power. They have no moral compass whatsoever. Exactly the point I'm making. Now, I get keeping your word. I do. But I also get win at all costs when our lives are on the line. This is that kind of election, folks. It's not a we have a difference of policy opinions election. It is Katie Britt just came up with no kidding, a bill. She wants to register women that get pregnant. Now, I'm not kidding. They will not register a gun because they're scared what the government might do. But Katie Britt just came up with a bill where she wants to register all pregnant women so they can track what they do. Takita, good points, Paul, but I choose to believe the Dems have an ace up their sleeve. I am hoping you are right, because I have so much respect for Hakeem Jeffries and his political senses. I'm just telling you what my response to this was. I was, because of who I am and what I am, I was just shocked. I was, no, they're down. They're down. You know, grab your fact bat and beat them. Grab your fact bat while they're down. Let's do it, man. Let's do it while they're down. Win this. this pretending there's normalcy that doesn't exist is no good. It's just not. And I'm very afraid. I'm very afraid. And I'm just hoping that Hakeem Jeffries has some political sense of this that I am not seeing. But I got to tell you, folks, I think it's the wrong thing to do. I think that we should have forced them into that chaos. We should have forced them to show the country and the world how much of a disarray they're in. They cannot even keep a Speaker of the House when they hold power. That's what I would have liked to have seen. And I think that actually meets the times of what's actually happening. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on what happened on Wednesday. The last thing I want to talk to you about is I keep getting asked, what are we going to do to win Texas? What are we going to win to do Texas? I'm going to give you an idea of the culture we're looking at here in Texas and what it's going to take. Let me just give you an idea. Victor H says, aid to Ukraine sent a shot across the bow to the world. Just look at the protests in the country of Georgia this week. Yes, we are going to talk about, I want to bring that up with Titus and get his take on it on Wednesday. There's amazing things going on. I showed you some of the pictures, but it's done nothing but grow. What's going on in Tbilisi in Georgia, they're trying to become very Soviet in their laws, and the people are having none of it. It's amazing. Thank you for bringing that up. We're going to talk about that on Wednesday. What's it going to take to turn Texas? You've got to kind of understand Texas and the way it is now to understand what it's going to take to actually make it deep blue again. There's a culture. There's a culture. Yeah, it all happened because of Ukraine funding. David Spalding says, I wonder if they were trying to win more moderates to lean left. That's exactly what they were trying to do. That's the calculation. That is the calculation. We are the sane party. We are the sane party. But I have to tell you, historically, people don't vote for that. That's not a turnout thing. I mean, for how long have we Democrats been in a situation where we're blackmailed, where the Republicans go to a microphone and say, hey, we're going to hurt you. We're going to hurt the American people. If we don't get some tax goodies for our patrons, we're going to hurt you and shut down the government and do all the stuff. And we Democrats are the sane ones and say, no, we have to run the government like grownups do. And that never pays off. Exactly, Crispy. Dems need to stop playing nice. They need to start pushing. This was a perfect opportunity to throw the Republican Party into complete and utter disarray and take advantage of this. We should have done it. We should have done it. I want to talk to you about, right now, I want to take a turn. I want to talk to you about Texas tax hotels. Thanks for the support, Peter. I appreciate you, my guy. I want you to take a look at this house. Before I bring it up, I want you to guess whose house this is. Anybody know whose house this is? Yeah, Barbara, we are the adults in the room. We are. I just sometimes wish we were a little bit more brutal, is where the whole point of that last segment is. I would like to see us become more aggressive in the way we fight, because we're fighting to save the damn country. Thank you for the support, Linda. No, that's not Ted Cruz's house. Ted Cruz has a very nice house. It's a nice house. It is. I mean, in my price range, that's a nice house. I mean, that ranch house is a little house down there. I'll give you a hint. It's in Boca Chica, Texas. It's in Boca Chica. All right, I won't drag it out. Yeah, Donna got it. Elon Musk. That's right. That's Elon Musk's declared residence. Elon Musk sold off all of his real estate and bought this little bitty ranch house down in Boca Chica, Texas, and then refurbished it. And he bought, and you see the lot next to it. He's got a big, huge backyard for his toys, but it's within sight. It's within sight of his business. He can actually hear the rockets take off. This is where his employees live. But yeah, that's Elon Musk's place. And I want to explain Texas Tax Hotel so that you can understand the culture down here. What a Texas Tax Hotel is. Elon Musk sold 6 houses in Bel Air. This is one of them. He had 6 houses in Bel Air. He sold off and moved down here to Texas. Why did he do that? This was his place in San Francisco. This was his place in San Francisco. He moved from this supposedly down to Boca Chica to that little ranch house. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? I don't believe that. I believe it's a Texas Tax Hotel. And what I mean by that is, thank you, Katie Carroll. I appreciate it, man. You're really there. You are my biggest patron. We Dems need to stop taking the high road and start street fighting. We will not win this if we don't. Amen. We have got to get down on the Republican. As much as I hate to say it, we have to get down on the Republicans' level. Republicans have turned, always incognito says, Ukraine couldn't wait for our international political issues to be fixed. Hakeem was thinking of those people, and I was proud to do it. Yeah, I am really glad we got the funding for Ukraine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we should have went back on our word, and we should have thrown those Republicans under the bus. But that's me. Hakeem Jeffries is the man. Let's see if he was right. Let's see if he was right. A tax hotel. That's what I'm explaining here. All right. Don't try this on your own without consulting a professional. I am not your tax consultant. Don't do this without speaking to a tax consultant. I'm just telling you about the way there are some things out there. If you are Johnny Got Rocks and you own a business, or you got a lot of money. Let's say that you own Tesla and you're trying to get Tesla to pay you $50 to $60 billion in compensation. You don't want to live in California. You don't. You don't want to be, even though he built his business, built everything that he's getting paid for in California, used their infrastructure, his employees used their infrastructure. Even though he did all of that with Tesla in California, he's raising his middle finger and telling California, screw off. I am not going to pay taxes on that compensation package. I'm going to live in my little house in Boca Chica. That's his declared residence. Actually, if you go through that article, they show his old PayPal buddy owns a really nice place in Austin that he crashes at more often than not. He's got a little mansion up in Austin that he's crashing at. That's, that's near his gigafactory or whatever the hell he's calling it. But here's what a Texas Tax Hotel is. Okay, you're Johnny Got Rocks, and you don't want to pay. Your main family compound is in Connecticut, and you don't want to pay those taxes. You don't want to pay those state taxes. What you could do is you can come down here and buy you a crap box in Frisco, in Dallas, north of Dallas, Frisco, which is what a lot of them do. They'll buy $1 million house up in Frisco, and they'll declare it their residence. Now, here's the thing. They don't actually have to buy it. I mean, on paper, they buy it, but they don't really have to pay for it because there's this law written into the taxes that, up to about $36,000 a year, you can do things like, I don't know, hold a business meeting at your house. And you can declare up to $36,000 the costs involved in that house as a deduction. And what these people do, and I don't want to stay with me, it's going to get a little complex. What they do, these people do is you'll notice that when you get somebody like Elon Musk or even Joe Biden, all of Joe Biden's family are now running businesses. Elon Musk and his brother and they all have businesses, right? That's what happens when one person takes off like a rocket. They come back with the attorneys and they set everybody up in businesses. Why? Because you hold a meeting at your house. And it doesn't matter what that meeting is, as long as it's a meeting. And this is legitimate, folks. This is not a crime I'm telling you about. Then you invite your family over. You're writing off the expenses of your house, your pool boy, your gardener, all that stuff is an expense now for your home office. You're writing, and that's why I say talk to a consultant. They'll tell you how much of this you can write off. But this is real. When your family comes to stay with you, you charge their business rent. Yeah, you charge them to come and be served at your residence. So they get a tax write-off. They get to write that off in their business as an expense. So any money they're making, that percentage, just for coming to visit you, they don't pay taxes on. And there are so many webs of these types of write-offs. They're not actually paying. Folks, I want you to think about that. $36,000 a year, divide that by 12, that's $3,000 a year. The mortgage, and again, let's talk about the mortgage. You buy $1 million home in Frisco, which is a really nice house in Frisco, right? The mortgage on that is $5,000 to $6,000 a year. That deduction alone is half your mortgage. Then you start talking about the other expenses because you get your company to float the mortgage itself, and then you have that expense. You're getting a house. You're taking what have normally been a bill over here that you would have had to pay the government, and instead you're giving yourself a house. Essentially for free. And in return, you no longer pay state income taxes where your real family compound is in upstate New York or California or wherever. And you don't really live here because Texas, folks, it's hot in the summertime. I mean, like really hot in the summertime here. Winters, it's pretty damn cold too. I mean, it gets below freezing here. And this is not tropical. These people aren't living in these houses. They use them for hotels. Elon Musk has business that he needs to do down in his little spaceship company. He comes down, he does that business, he flops at that house instead of having to go to a hotel and deal with the great unwashed like us. No, he's got his own private little hotel residence, a tax hotel. That's what a tax hotel is. That's what Republicans have turned my state into. And folks, businesses love it here because of that. Because that's what my state is. That's what my state is. That's what they've turned my state into. Now, the people that live here like me, our power grid sucks because they brought that under their control also. Everybody else, you've got an Eastern and Western power grid that's regulated by the federal government. We had to have our own so that Johnny Got Rocks could get away with more crap. So we've got an unstable power grid. Our schools are in these religious wars. I mean, actually living here is really starting to suck bad. But not if you're rich. Not if you're rich. Because I got to tell you, Frisco's a nice area. It's a nice area. And it's actually set up. When you look at it from the point of view, I just explained to you about these Texas tax hotels. Katie Carroll says, income tax reform and tax churches tax the 1% corporations, get cloning of organs and so much more if we vote blue. You know, Democrats, we do. We look at what's best for the majority of people. No, Charles Lee, I'm just going to make it better. I'm going to make it better. By telling people what's going on. You get Johnny Got Rocks out there who's living like a king, who's skipping out on taxes all over the country. Tesla was made in California. The infrastructure alone, California deserves to recoup the expenses that they put into that. But Elon Musk is saying, no, I'm going to go pretend I live in Texas when I really live in a freaking yacht in the Mediterranean. We've all seen those pictures. That's what it means to be really wealthy, folks. And here in Texas, you have nutty people like that Charles Lee guy that was just there that just want to be abused. They just want to be abused. It's the culture. How dare you? Oh, yeah, I could do a whole show on the Texas Railroad Commission. The way our government is set up here is designed to make it confusing and difficult to do anything for the people. It really is. And put regulation of critical industries in the hands of people they don't even know they're giving it to. They don't. The Railroad Commission regulates oil and gas industry. You know, I mean, it's just, and it's three good old boys that are just, and people don't know what a critical election that is. And that's what we're facing here in Texas. There's so much information that we're getting out there, but it's really hard because people only have so much bandwidth. You've got a life. It's Mother's Day. You've got a life. How much information can I give you? How much time do you have? Plus, then you have the Republicans bombing people with misinformation that takes up bandwidth. And we have all of these fights. That's what we're fighting here in Texas. That's what we're fighting. We're fighting a culture of middle-aged white guys that don't know shit. They don't know what's going on. All they know is they got a team and they're willing to just burn the entire state down for their team. 25 years and they do nothing of Republicans running the state. They do nothing but bitch and moan about everything that is going on and then turn around and blame the people that aren't running the state. Heidi Gordon can tell you, Texas is very business friendly. It's great to run a business here. It is. It is. But I got to tell you, to get the things done that we need to get done is almost impossible. It is. The way things are set up now. But people are starting to really open up their eyes. They are. And it takes more people that look like me, that sound like me, that will talk like me, telling people these things so that they can learn. And you folks, and this is what I'm going to wrap it up with, when you hit that thumbs up button, you get this information out to more people. People will say, yeah, wait a minute. Elon Musk is a Texan now, so he doesn't have to pay taxes on his $58 billion Tesla compensation package he wants? Well, that ain't right. California put up a lot of infrastructure for him to build that business. Should they not be reimbursed? Or should the people that live in California have to shoulder that burden on their own? Because that's what it means to be Republican, folks. And that's what I want to leave you with. That's what it means to be Republican. Is they're going to put as much on you as possible. They're going to take as much from you and your family, to squeeze as much out of you as they can. And they are going to give their billionaire frat boy club every single pass they possibly can. And I will remind you of the last show that we talked about. Donald Trump held his little shindig down at Mar-a-Lago, and he told all of those execs from the oil and gas industry, give me $1 billion and I will give you every tax cut, every permit. I will roll back all environmental legislations. I'll give you any damn thing you want, but you give me $1 billion. They're saying it out loud, folks. Who do you think pays for everything once they do that? When the oil and gas companies aren't paying the taxes, the executives aren't paying the taxes, the rich people aren't paying the taxes, who's paying for the roads? Who's paying for the schools? Who's paying for all the employees, people, and healthcare and every other damn thing out there? You are. They're sticking it on you, man. And that's the way it works. That is the Republican way. We are not the same. We are not the same. Democrats are working for you. Get your ass out and vote. That's what I've got for you today, folks. I want you to have a happy Mother's Day. I want you to be nice, do something kind and loving for your wife and your mother. Show them how important they are to you. And y'all have a beautiful day. John Ettinger, you get the last comment. Texas Paul, thanks for doing what you do. This is an honor and memory of my mom, who I lost this past December. God, man, I tell you, that's like a bomb going off, isn't it? Just surreal forever. I don't even know how long it was before just that feeling went away, man. I'm really sorry to hear that. She would have enjoyed you. Also, happy Mother's Day to Mrs. Texas Paul and all the other moms out there. Glad you could be here, John. When I say you are the best people, you're good, decent people. I want you to think about the way you think and talk, and think about the few trolls we had like Charles and those guys, and the way they talk and what they fight for and what they stand for. You're good people. You're decent people. And we've got to win for the, I mean, who do we want to run things? The good and decent people? Is that what you want for your children? I'm out, folks. Have a happy Mother's Day. Thank you for the support, Michael. I sure appreciate you. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.